When I pull up to the building, it really feels like my second home.
We've been a member of the same Sunday school class for
into the decades now.
into the decades.
We didn't visit any more churches after we visited South Highland, and we knew pretty quickly that we wanted to join.
My parents were here before me, and my grandparents before them.
We had felt new for a long time, and then suddenly there was just a turn where I walked in and I realized this is my church.
God is around everywhere, but especially in like beautiful, like kind of handcrafted churches. Like there is more like reverence put into the making of it, and you can feel that in the rooms.
This building has a presence to it, and you see it and feel it, and when you're here in it, you know there's history here.
There is something that feels very connected in knowing that many families and generations of families have stewarded this church and this congregation.
I think the majority of the friends I have in this city are in this church and have been for a long, long time.
We need places to allow us to do what we do better. And it's very important to come to this church and be able to gather, to learn, to practice, to come together and worship. And I find that it's my privilege to be able to help the congregation toward this goal.
I've served as a deacon. I've taught Sunday school classes for the children. I've worked in the nursery.
I am on the board of the CDC.
Setting up for communion means a lot to me.
I'm on the interim pastor search committee right now.
I came to South Highland Presbyterian Church and saw all the ministries here at work, and I was inspired by all the work they were doing and wondered where I could assist in being of service here. My faith has grown in actually being able to serve the community.
I wanted to make South Highlands my own. So the way I did that was to get involved, and I've done it, and I love it, and it's a way to really get to know this wonderfully welcoming community.
From earliest times until STAIR volunteers today, I think we've always had people who were involved in a variety of ways in seeking the good of the city. That's what makes this a special community.
I see God at work in the relationships here, the new relationships and old relationships. I've made a lot of new friends here, and old friends are becoming friends with new friends too. So it's all building on top of that.
When I was single, coming to church, and what made me feel comfortable about seeing the church was knowing that my Christian family was there inside those walls and to have fellowship and worship with me.
Having community in like the greater congregation and in youth group, while also being able to kind of work on myself with all of that, like other people have helped me grow my faith more independently.
I would say my faith has grown tremendously in the fact that I see so many Christ-like people around here that it makes me want to live in that way.
Sometimes in the very simplest of ways, just in a moment in a Sunday school class, and sometimes in the deepest and theological ways in church or through the music program. You can sit there and listen to the choir and just feel the presence of God. It can just deepen your spiritual faith.
That's where I really feel like my spiritual gaze is lifted up to the heavens, and just I get to sort of just bask in God's goodness and glory.
And you can see God working in this church through everything that He does, and just all the different missions here locally, and then throughout the world, and how this church has an impact, and that helps me develop and grow my faith.
In the summer of 2001, I drove up Highland Avenue and parked in front of this beautiful church. I was overwhelmed at its physical beauty, and then learning of the lives who had been a part of this church for generation after generation. Folks, we are standing on the shoulders of those who've done great things before us, those who have given of their talent, their time, their treasure to build God's church called South Highland. God's people have maintained and built up this facility, not just to be a shrine to architecture, but to be a place where ministry takes place and lives are changed. It's exciting to see what God has done before and to anticipate what God is going to do in the future. Psalm 145 tells us, "One generation shall praise your works to another and shall declare your mighty acts." God is at work among us. God is using you and me to do His work. May God bless our efforts for His glory.
People who have never been in this facility before are astounded at what we have here. It's a gem. It's a true gem. But when I see paint peeling, I don't like that. When I see boards rotten in the back of the church, I don't like that. It's something that we need to keep maintained. And that's a responsibility that each of us has.
I feel like people are really beginning to turn their gaze forward and say, Lord, what are you about to do with us? What are you doing right now that is preparing us for the next chapter? And so I feel that real strong sense of just eagerness and hunger and desire to continue in faithfulness and to just boldly walk into the future and say, what is the Lord doing? And how can I personally be used?
You know, you think about the cathedrals in Europe where people spent their life building the cathedral. They may have never even built it to where they could worship in it, but they knew they were doing it not just, God is eternal. They're not building it for themselves to worship. They're building it to host God. And that's what our goal is. We were put here. We have a beautiful facility, but in essence, it doesn't belong to us. It's God's facility, and we need to do the best we can for Him.